Welcome for formative assessment 3, that is chapter 2, lesson 3. First question, what is the relationship between a polymer and a monomer? What is the relationship between a polymer and a monomer? So the relationship between a polymer and a monomer is understood in a sense that monomers normally are responsible for making polymers. Monomers are responsible for making polymers. So we say here as an answer that we expect an answer like when monomers are linked, when monomers are linked, they form molecules called polymers. They form molecules called polymers. They form molecules called polymers. This means the polymers, this means that polymers depend on monomers as their building blocks. So we can take an example here, or we can cite an example. For example, monomers called amino acids we will join or will link. So if we have monomers plus amino acids, amino acid plus, of course, N, it might continue, so it will depend with the number of amino acids. So these amino acids will form, these are monomers, and they are linked together to produce polymers, in this case proteins. So amino acids are linked together to form proteins. So proteins in this case are polymers and amino acids are monomers. Number 2, explain how both nucleic acid and proteins are polymers. Explain how both nucleic acids and proteins are polymers. Be sure to describe the monomers that make up the polymers. So both nucleic acids and proteins, both nucleic acids and proteins are complex molecules. So what do we mean by them being complex molecule is that they are polymers made of subunit of different types. They are polymers made of subunits, in this case monomers, made of subunits of different types, of different types. Of different types. Proteins, as we saw earlier, are molecules are made of monomers called amino acids. So proteins are made of monomers called amino acids. On the other hand, what happens is that for nucleic acids, they are made of monomers. Nucleic acids are also polymers, They are polymers that are made up of monomers called nucleotides. So chains of nucleotides will make nucleic acids, and chains of nucleotides. So nucleotides. So if we make, for example, a picture here, let me try to make it easier. If we have chains like this, maybe this is one, then we can have another chain here. This one is like this. We can have another one, maybe it is like this. Then we have another one joined to this, which is circular. So these are, we can take these as amino acids. So these are different amino acids. So these different amino acids will come together, and of course they will be joined by bonds here and make what we are calling here a protein. The same thing applies to nucleic acid. Nucleic acids are made of chains of nucleotides. They are made of chains. The next question is question number 3. Compare and contrast. How are carbohydrates and lipids similar? So you tell us their similarity, and 2, how are they different? So we'll answer the first part, which is how are they similar. So we say carbohydrates and lipids both carbohydrates and lipids contain the same, they contain the same elements. They contain the same elements, carbon, they contain the same elements, carbon, bonded to oxygen, and hydrogen atoms. So this is the similarity between these two. So both carbohydrates and lipids contain the same elements, carbon bonded to oxygen and hydrogen atoms. Let's look at the differences. So when we are looking at differences, we have here carbohydrates and here we have lipids. So lipids normally are non-polar molecules. Because they are non-polar molecules, it means they don't dissolve in water. They do not dissolve in water. They do not dissolve in water. They are made of glycerol and fatty acids. They are made of glycerol, that is triglyceraldehyde, glycerol and fatty acids. On the other side, we have carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are polar molecules. Because they are polar molecules, they dissolve in water. When they are in their simple state, that is simple sugars. But of course, complex carbohydrates may not dissolve in water. Complex ones may not dissolve in water. So they are made of monomers. They are made of monomers of simple sugar. For example, glucose. They are made from simple sugar, for example, glucose. Another similarity here, if we are looking at similarity, is that both of them can be broken down to provide a source of usable chemical energy for cells. So they can be broken down to provide a source of usable energy. Let's go to the next question. The next question says, explain how the bonding properties of carbon atoms result in the large variety of carbon-based molecules in living things. Explain how the bonding properties of carbon atoms result in the large variety of carbon-based molecules in living things. Carbon is often called the building block of life. Carbon is often called the building block of life. Carbon is often called the building block of life. The reason why carbon is called so is basically because it makes up the basis for most molecules in living things. Life because carbon atoms are the basis of most molecules. Molecules that make up living things. These molecules form the structure of living things and carry out most of the processes that keep organisms alive. So carbon, answer for this question would be carbon is so important. Carbon is so important. Carbon is so important because its atomic structure gives it bonding properties. That are unique. Among elements. That are unique among elements. Each carbon atom has 4 unpaired electrons. Each carbon atom has 4 unpaired electrons. Unpaired electrons in its outermost energy level. In its outer energy level. So because of this, therefore carbon atoms can form covalent bonds, can form covalent bonds with up to 4 other atoms. With up to 4 other atoms, of course, including other carbon atoms. Including other carbon atoms. Let's look at the structure here, just to give but an example. If carbon 4, this is methane, has only 1 carbon, but it is joined to how many? Sorry, this is supposed to be carbon, hydrogen 4. Make it clearer here. Carbon, hydrogen 4. So this can be written as this, and you will see that it forms 4 carbon. If we go to the next, for example, ethane, which has 2 carbons, you will see it will be having 2 carbon chains and, of course, hydrogens. So you can see that it can form continuous chains of carbon to form even more complex chains, So we will stop here and hope you got it clear here.